Oh, you know what day it is.
It's October 3rd.
Well, yeah, technically, but I'm talking about power rankings. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Yeah, there's a bunch of teams that are not going to be on this list anymore ever again. Grossi, and today we are going to break down and rank the top 10 teams heading into week 5 of the NFL. And I gotta tell you, I feel like this is getting more and more difficult. Because right now, I feel decently confident about my top 3, top 4. After that, I honestly have no clue. And this week, I definitely have some honorable mentions, even though they're not going to be in the top 10. I thought it'd be right to shout them out. And the first team I want to do an honorable mention for is the Washington Commanders, because they took the Eagles into overtime, and even with a garbage offensive line and a very young QB, they've been playing really, really hard, and I just got to commend them. I think there's a good chance that they are competitive in the near future if Sam Howell is their guy, and it's looking like he's playing pretty darn good football, even behind that bad O-line. They have the weapons, and I think, honestly, they're a few pieces away from being contenders, but I thought it'd be right to shout them out. And the other team I wanted to shout out was the Houston Texans, another team with not so much of a great O-line right now. They're banged up with injury, but CJ Stroud has been playing phenomenal football. Over 1,200 yards so far this season, and he's a rookie QB, and I just feel like there's not a lot of talk about the Texans usually, and what they were able to do against the Steelers was incredibly impressive, and that team, I think, is well coached. If they have their franchise QB, watch out, because then they're going to be real good real soon. But enough with the honorable mentions. Let's jump into the top 10. At number 10, re-entering into the power rankings, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just wiping the floor with the New Orleans Saints, a division rival, and I know they're going to be very, very happy about that. I know how much you hate Marshawn Lattimore, and so this game, it went pretty well. Baker Mayfield had a fantastic day. That defense looked phenomenal. And Chris Godwin,
well, look who decided to show.
Had 114 yards, and I know Mike Evans got a little bit banged up, but the Buccaneers are an interesting team because I think right now they are the favorites to win the NFC South, and they're good enough to do that. And we saw this when they played the Eagles, that they came up a little bit short, and I feel like that's what the Buccaneers are going to be this year. They can be the best team in the NFC South. Hell, I think they can win a wild card game if they make the postseason. It's just going to be a matter of, can they match up with those great teams? The good news for the Buccaneers is they got plenty of time to do that, and we'll see how they progress. Number 9, you got the Baltimore Ravens stomping the Cleveland Browns, and all that hype for DTR during the preseason,
and it's gone.
Yeah, no mas. And I feel bad for DTR, kind of thrown into that situation. Deshaun Watson messed up his shoulder and apparently just told coaches, I can't go, and DTR was thrown in. I know he was getting a few extra reps at practice last week, and I like DTR. I hope he does well, but not a good day for him. 3 interceptions. The Ravens defense looked really, really good, and Lamar Jackson was near perfect through the air, 15 for 19 with 2 touchdowns, and also rushed for 2 touchdowns. And this is the Ravens at their best, right? In which they're dealing with a ton of injuries, but they are still the best team in the AFC North. The Browns are there because they have the defense, but you can only do so much when you're on the field basically all game. So Lamar Jackson, he had himself a day. That defense had themselves a day. And the Ravens, even though banged up, should feel very good about themselves moving forward. Number 8, you got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, it looked like the Legion of Boom was back after getting 11 sacks on Daniel Jones.
Ha! Boom, baby!
And you do have to wonder, is the Giants' O-line that bad, or is Seattle's defense that good? And I think it's a bit of both, right? Because the Giants' O-line, it's non-existent. But Witherspoon having the game of his life, kind of introducing himself to the national audience, an absolute great pickup in this past draft. And him and Woolen could be a big problem in that secondary going forward because they are a young secondary. Now, looking at the offense, not so great. Kenneth Walker, it took a while for him to get going. Geno Smith, he was banged up in that game. They put in Drew Lock for a little bit, and the offense didn't really do a ton to inspire. But if their defense keeps playing like that, they will win a bunch of games. They are definitely contenders in the NFC West and definitely in the NFC overall. They should be a playoff team, and I'm curious to see how good that defense is going to be by the time this season is over. Number 7, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, and the stars were out for this game, even though their offense wasn't. Donna Kelsey at her second NFL game, just chilling with Taylor Swift.
I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
We had the Swift counter. We had the Aaron Rodgers counter, and oh boy, things were getting crazy. And also, there was a football game that was played, and boy, oh boy, did the offense of the Chiefs not look particularly great, especially in that second half. They went up big against the Jets, as basically everybody predicted. And then Patrick Mahomes making some really bad mistakes, some bad throws, trying to force the ball, throwing picks. And it just looked a bit wonky. And the Chiefs haven't looked like themselves too much this season. They blew out the Bears last week, but just about everybody does, unless you're the Broncos. And I feel like the Chiefs, all of their mistakes are fixable, but this is still concerning. Their defense allowed Zach Wilson and the Jets to climb back into this game. And I know that the defense is not their strong suit, but it is an underrated squad, and they should be better than this. Now, I think all of their problems can be fixed, and I think they're going to be just fine. They're likely going to win their division. But the Chiefs are going to kind of be chilling at number 7 right now because the jury is still out on them. They'll be playing the Vikings next week, so I'm sure they'll be just fine. But Chiefs, you're staying at 7 and shake it off. Number 6, you got the Detroit Lions. The Lions demolishing the Green Bay mother-loving Packers on Thursday night. And they came in and they were cool, calm, and collective. And listen, I will say, Jared Goff threw an interception. First drive, they bounced right back from it. Their defense mauled the Packers' O-line. Their pass rush was disgustingly good. Their pass protection was really good for Jared Goff. And they just really knocked the Packers around, basically all game. There was a bit of a comeback in the third quarter, and then the Lions put that to bed because Quay Walker unfortunately committed a penalty. And listen, Lions fans, you got to be loving the Dan Campbell era.
I like this guy. Yeah, I really like this guy. I like my whole team, actually.
The Lions have been waiting for this for a very, very long time. And with this team, they get Jameson Williams back, which is just going to make them even more lethal. I have them outside of the top 5 right now, but to be completely honest, it's probably not going to last long. The Lions have some interesting opponents coming up, like the Buccaneers, so I'm curious to see how they do against them. But for right now, the Detroit Lions are the kings of the North. Number 5, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Big bounce back after losing to the Cardinals last week. They decimated the Patriots this week. And Cowboys fans seeing their defense again.
We are back, baby. We are back.
We're back.
We are back. Mac Jones eventually got benched after throwing some interceptions. Bailey Zappi got put in. And the Patriots offense, which has been struggling basically all year because they don't have much of an O-line and they have no weapons for Mac Jones, they just smothered them. And the offense did more than enough to win that football game. And this is the kind of Cowboys performance that they needed. Again, they lost to the Cardinals last week. And the Cardinals are a bit of a chippy team right now. They're playing opponents really, really hard. But I will say, their biggest test is going to come this week. Sunday Night Football against the 49ers. Kind of a very good team that they're going to be pitted against. And hey, let's see if the Cowboys can keep up. I give them the benefit of the doubt right now because they put a clinic on against the Patriots. But the real test comes in just a few short days. Number 4, you got the Miami Dolphins. They were number 1 last week. And now you're sliding down a little bit. Mike McDaniel, after being a little overconfident after their win last week.
Oh, well, Pardon me, Mr. Perfect! I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake!
Yeah, the Dolphins are going to wish they play the Broncos every single week because every single time a team goes against the Broncos defense, they're looking good. But a very disappointing performance by the Dolphins. The first 2 drives for the Dolphins resulted in touchdowns, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be a game. And then once Armstead got hurt, the pressure started getting ramped up on Tua. The defense could not stop the Bills at all. And I think that was the most disappointing part of the day. Stephon Diggs tore up that secondary, and Vic Fangio is going to be looking at that tape in pretty much disgust. And now I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom for the Dolphins because the Bills, they came to play, and I think the Dolphins will be fine. I still think they're going to be playoff contenders, even though it's really early. It's just a matter of, can they fix that defense? Is that O-line going to be healthy enough to protect Tua? Because when both of those things are good, well, they won't score 70, but they'll put up a lot of points. Number 3, you got the Philadelphia Eagles after a nail-biter with the Commanders.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Taking them into overtime, and I know there's some people that are panicking about the Eagles or saying, oh, like they're really not good. Let's put it this way. 1, I think they definitely haven't gelled, especially on offense just yet, and that they have really good players like A.J. Brown, who had himself a day. Their defense, of course, has amazing athletes on it, but they're just not a cohesive team right this second. But they're still 4-0, and I think that's the most important thing to recognize. It was a divisional game, and the Commanders were the ones who defeated them last year when they were undefeated. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for the Eagles, but I think a lot of their problems can be fixed. Their coordinators are kind of figuring it out as they go. And again, the athletes they have on their team, Jalen Hurts is still really good. They have the run game, whether it's a tush-push or it's DeAndre Swift. So the Eagles remain as the second undefeated team in the NFL. They're at number 3. Not an impressive performance, but at the end of the day, they still got a 0 in the loss column. Number 2, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, who all week heard it from the Dolphins fans. They heard it from the media. 48-20. Yeah, it turns out the Bills, they were the offense that everybody should have been worried about. Josh Allen having a phenomenal game. They were running the ball. They were spreading the ball around, and they scored on nearly every single drive. The Bills looked damn good. I also like this subplot that's going on that whenever the Broncos lose to a team, the Bills face them the following week and beat the crap out of them like they're defending them.
Not my daughter, you
But in all honesty, the Bills looked really, really good. Now, Trey White out for the season in a devastating injury, and I feel so bad for him, kind of causing some problems in that secondary, a weak point of the Bills last year due to injuries. But putting that aside, their offense looked absolutely unstoppable. After that embarrassing week 1 loss against the Jets, the Bills have really rebounded against the Raiders, the Commanders, and now the Dolphins. They've played a really good team. They've beaten and dominated a really good team. And right now, the Bills look like the cream of the crop of the AFC. And finally, number 1, you got the San Francisco 49ers. It's just CMC. He's running all over defenses like,
boom, click and go back this way. Boom, here, click and go that way. Boom, that way. Click here and go back this way.
4 freaking fracking touchdowns. Yeah, I think that trade worked out pretty well. And again, shout out to the Cardinals because they are playing every game really, really tough. But the 49ers are just a better football team here. And it wasn't just CMC. Brandon Ayuk had himself a day, proving once again that he can be that big threat. And on top of that, Brock Purdy, after a game where he was criticized against the Giants, was nearly perfect. 20 for 21, over 280 yards, and a touchdown. And the 49ers just look like the most balanced football team. We know they have the offense. They have all of these skill players. The defense is really, really good. And right now, I don't know who's stopping the 49ers. They have a great matchup against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, which is a great prove-it game for both of them. And if this was predictions, I'd be picking the 49ers. And I think a lot of people would agree. So to recap, at number 1, we got the 49ers. Number 2, the Bills. 3 Eagles. 4 Dolphins. 5 Cowboys. 6 Lions. 7 Chiefs. 8 Seahawks. 9 Ravens. And 10 Buccaneers. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should be off? Let me know. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy at all the social media see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.